Act 5, Scene 3. This is Dunsany, a room in Macbeth's castle. He is sick at heart, frustrated and desperate. The scene opens with his soliloquy. Reports of large-scale desertion from his army have come to him. He comes to know of the advance of the English army, yet he is sure that he cannot be defeated because of the witch's predictions that says, "Fear not, Macbeth, no man that's born of woman shall ever have power upon thee." And the second prediction, that till Birnam would move to Dunsany, and therefore he to himself says, "Till Birnam would remove to Dunsany, I cannot taint with fear." So Macbeth declares that he does not care if his nobles leave him and join the English army. Such unfaithful men are free to go over to the side of the ease-loving English people, the luxury-loving Englishmen who follow the teachings of the ancient Greek philosopher Epicure, believing only in enjoying life. Macbeth is determined to fight. He'll never tremble with fear or sag with doubt and taint his honorable, valiant soul. A servant comes and informs that 10,000 English soldiers are marching towards his castle, and he calls for his trusted attendant, Satan, and in his soliloquy during the intervals reveals his suffering. He is sure that the trial will either establish him as the king or remove him from his throne. He has already lived long enough. He is now in the autumn of his life with despair and decay. So in a way he has accepted his fate and might be even predicting and getting ready for the eventual downfall. Speaking of his old age, he says that in his old age he does not expect to have all such advantages as honor, love, obedience, a number of friends to bring comfort to him. All he can look forward to are only curses. At the end of his soliloquy, Macbeth commands Satan to bring him his armor. Then he orders him to scout the countryside and to hang all who talk of fear or desertion. Then we see the doctor who comes and he tells Macbeth asks him about the latest condition of his wife. The doctor replies that her disease is mental and not physical, the one which cannot be treated by medical science. He then wants to know if the doctor can prescribe medicines that would relieve a person of the mental disease by making a patient forget his troubles. To Macbeth's request to cure Lady Macbeth, the doctor says, "Therein the patient must minister to himself." Macbeth shouts, "Throw physic to the dogs, throw the medicine for the dogs." He then wishes that the doctor could cure Scotland's illness. The physician remarks to himself that if only he could escape from Dunsany for once, he would never return here back to Dunsany for any amount of fee. This scene reveals thus the state of Macbeth, which is a mixture of self-confidence and despair. His confidence is due to the assurances given to him by the apparitions or the witches, and but he is feeling uneasy and restless. His common sense causes him to fear, and he asks Satan to get his armor to him so that he gets ready to fight. His uneasiness is expressed by him even in the first sentence of this scene, "Bring me no reports, let them fly all." At the same time, he clings to the false security of the witch's prophecy. He knows that the witches were right in foreseeing his 3 titles. After all, he is king, and they have said that he will not be defeated until Birnam Wood comes to Dunsany. Macbeth swings between valiant fury and utter despair. He is furious when he thinks of his enemies from England and his disloyal thanes from Scotland. His despair flows from the conflict between his preparation for the attack and his conviction that he has lived long enough. He is determined to preserve a life that he no longer thinks worth preserving. In contrast to the youth and vitality of Malcolm's forces, his way of life is fallen into the sear, the yellow leaf. Macbeth's frustration is shown in his treatment of the servant who reports the arrival of the English army. Macbeth is isolated from his friends and subjects and as well as from his wife. His thanes have even fled, and he has nothing to look forward in life. In a way, Macbeth's thoughts of old age suggest the contrast with the aged Duncan and the love and loyalty that surrounded him during his death. But his own position in contrast is suggested by the image of decay, the seer, the yellow leaf. Lady Macbeth has been his guide earlier in the play, but now she has become remote due to her mental illness. At the end of this scene, Macbeth inquires about her health, and the doctor's reply that she is troubled with past memories plunges him into still more profound meditation. Sorrow is all that remains for Macbeth, but the only remedy he can consider is some sweet, oblivious antidote, the only remedy for himself and his wife. But the doctor says therein the patient must minister to himself. So the patient himself has to try to recover, and it's in his own hands and not in the hands of the doctor or anybody else. The scene thus ends as it began, on a note of doubt and despair. So line wise when we go, bring me no more reports, let them fly all, till Burnham would remove to Dunsinane. I cannot taint with fear, so I cannot spoil my name, my soul, my spirit with fear, until Burnham Wood comes towards Dunsinane as promised by the witch's predictions. I am not going to budge, I am not going to be concerned, and bring me no more information about the enemy's approach or their number, and let all the Thanes desert me, yet I shall not be afraid. What's the boy, Malcolm? Was he not born of woman? So he now thinks of the prophecy that was made that no one born of a woman would be able to kill him or be fatal to him. And therefore he thinks that what about Malcolm? Should I be afraid of Malcolm? Was he not born of a woman? So he was also born of a woman, so I better not be worried about him either. The spirits that know all mortal consequence have pronounced me thus. So the supernatural powers who foresee all human events, so they have pronounced me, they have predicted all such things for me. Therefore I must rest assured. So fear not, Macbeth, no man that's born of woman shall ever have power upon thee. Then thy false Thanes, and mingle with the English epicures. The mind I sway by, and the heart I bear, shall never sag with doubt, nor shake with fear. So I have such a strong mind and strong heart that it can never sway, nor it can lack the spirit of, nor it can droop with doubt, and nor can I shake or tremble in fear. So my personality does not accept such kind of cowardly expressions. So he says that let the treacherous Thane desert me and join the luxury-loving English. The mind that directs me and the heart that I carry will never droop with doubt or tremble with fear. So it's too high a mind, strong, valiant, and determined. So he's having all these qualities, he's possessing all such qualities that he must never be bothered about fearing somebody. The devil damn thee black, thou cream-faced loon. So where gottest thou that goose look? So he is angry at a servant who has just suddenly entered, and he says that, and he dismisses him by saying, what happened to you? Why are you so pale? Just go away from here. Why have you that goose-like look on your face, that pale, silly look out of fear? There is 10,000. Geese, villain. So he's saying, what half information you are giving me? 10,000 what? Then he says, soldiers, go prick thy face and overread thy fear, thou lily-livered boy. So you are such a puny, cowardly boy that you are your face is flushed, and go prick yourself, hurt yourself, or just get the redness back into your cheeks. So don't bear that fear into your face. What soldiers, Patch? What soldiers have you seen there? Which part? Which army? Death of thy soul, those linen cheeks of thine are counselors to fear. So you are encouraging others to die. You are encouraging fear. You are inciting fear into others' hearts as well by such a devastated look. So first of all, you have to deal with that. What soldiers wear face? So what soldiers do you mean? You pale-faced fellow. the English force so please you. So he is saying, pardon me for being afraid or something. And the English troops I am talking about with, take thy face hence, Satan, I am sick at heart. So he is angry at the servant and then says him to get out of his sight immediately. And then he calls for Satan and says, I am sick at heart. And says, I am sick at heart. When I behold Satan, I say, this push will cheer me ever or deceit me now. That means this push, this stir and this crisis moment that is there, either I will be flourishing by winning over this battle, by defeating my enemies, or it shall dethrone me, deceit me. I have lived long enough. My way of life is fallen into seer. The yellow leaf. Macbeth here tends to accept in a way and confess in a way that his life is surely coming to an end and his death is very imminent. His defeat is very imminent, and that he has lived long enough a life and he has no desire perhaps to live for any more. And his way of life is fallen into seer, the yellow leaf. That means his life is now withered, just like the yellow leaf of a flower which gets withered in its old age and turns yellow in autumn. So the autumn phase of his life is here. It's not the young spirit time of the spring. The prime time of his life has already been led, and now it's just autumn, the falling down, the crest part of his life. And that which should accompany old age as honor, love, obedience, troops of friends, I must not look to have. So he says, and because perhaps for his deeds that he has committed, he knows the dire consequences of them, and therefore he confesses that honor, love, obedience, a host of friends which everybody might expect in their old age, I deserve none and desire for none. I have nothing to look forward to, and therefore it's better that instead of leading such a dishonored life and lack of respect, and people, those who love you, lack of love, it's better had it rather ended now. I must not look to have, but in their stead, curses, not loud, but deep mouth, honor, breath, which the poor heart deny and dare not, Satan. So he says, my case is different. So in a way, he might be comparing himself and his end of his life just like that of Duncan when he was on his deathbed. So he died as an honorable man, surrounded by friends and family, and loved by people, mourned by people. But rather he, because of his own evil deeds, he shall rather be left out and abandoned. In place of these, he says, he perhaps gets suppressed but profound curses. Only yes men and lip services, the people who stand around him right now at this moment, they are only through mere flattery, or the poor people who just for the sake of their own livelihood are still sticking to him. It might be out of fear, but other than that, the fear or mere duty, mere mechanical duty, nothing else ties the people around him to him. And therefore he says, I dare not ask for more at this moment, because he knows what he has done. So he addresses to Satan, but in the absence of Satan, he says all this. It's a soliloquy. Satan enters. What's your gracious pleasure? What news more? So he says, what my majesty, what are you asking for? Did you call me? And then Macbeth says, what more do you have? What updates do you have? What latest news can you tell me? So here we find that Macbeth has finally realized that he is slowly gravitating towards his impending doom. He is talking to himself in a sad mood after hearing that the English army is moving towards his castle. They are advancing. He is certain that the trial of arms that is going to take place soon must end in one way or the other. It will either firmly and safely establish his position as the King of Scotland, or remove him from his throne once and for all. He has already lived long enough. The most enjoyable period, the spring and the summer of his life, is over. He is now on the threshold of the autumn of his life, with its accompanying despair and decay. His life's career is now bound to be on the decline. It dawns upon him that in his old age he can hardly expect to have all those natural advantages such as honor, love, obedience, a number of friends to bring cheer and comfort to his gloomy existence. All he can look forward to their place will be curses, maybe loud, maybe subdued voices, yet they are there, and they are there profoundly. These may not be loudly expressed, but they will be deeply felt. There may be people showing lip loyalty and expressing hollow praise for him, but they will do it out of fear. In their heart of hearts, they would be only too glad not to praise him and support him from within. So Macbeth is disillusioned here. There is much sadness in these lines, verging almost on despair. He gives a vivid expression to his feelings, which signify that he is well aware of the rapidly approaching end of his life, the doom. The image of autumn leaf is really poignant. Satan says, "All is confirmed, my lord, which was reported." So I have confirmed whatever news was reported to you, that 10,000 of the English soldiers are approaching. Macbeth, "I'll fight till from my bones my flesh be hacked. Give me my armor." So I'm ready to face death. I'm ready to face the fight and get into a duel and let them rip off my flesh from my bones, and my bones be chopped off. Yet till my last breath I shall fight. Satan, "'Tis not needed yet." So now it's not required at this moment itself that you get yourself armored up. There's still time. Macbeth, "I will put it on. Send out more horses, skirt the country round. Hang those that talk of fear. Give me mine armor. How does your patient, doctor?" He asks Satan to send out more horsemen to scour the countryside. So to move around the countryside and look for people, look for my army who are fear-stricken and who are fleeing. So any of those should be killed, should be hanged. And even for the very fact that they are afraid, they utter it, they should be slaughtered or they should be hanged to death, they should be killed. So he wants to get ready for the fight. And then he asks the doctor about the patient. The patient is none other than Lady Macbeth herself. "Doctor, not so sick, my lord, as she is troubled with thick coming fancies." So thick coming fancies means with recurring fancies. Her mind is heavy, that keep her from her rest, and she's overpossessed with thoughts and overburdened with thoughts, and that's what is troubling her. And she is burdened with mental illnesses and mental trauma rather than any physical problem. So Macbeth, cure her of that. So can't you cure her of those things? Can't you cure her of her mental illnesses, of her fancies? "Canst thou not minister to a mind diseased? Pluck from the memory a rooted sorrow." Can't you treat a diseased mind? So can't you treat a troubled mind and just pluck out from her memory the rooted sorrow, the deep-rooted grief or trouble that is troubling her so much, and raise out the written troubles of the brain and erase from the brain the fixed painful impressions, and with some sweet oblivious antidote cleanse the stuffed bosom of that perilous stuff which weighs upon the heart. So just erase those deeply engraved thoughts from her brain with some antidote, with some cure. Can't you make her forget and cleanse her, purge her mind out of all those stuff that deeply disturbs her? So her overcharged brain, can't it be relieved? The bosom of that perilous stuff. Perilous stuff is the heavy load of the sorrow that is troubling her. Can't you take off or wipe off or just make her forget it? The deep-seated troubles that are imprinted on her brain. The doctor replies that her disease is mainly mental and hence she is troubled by morbid thoughts and fancies. The doctor's reply does not satisfy Macbeth. He feels annoyed and asks him to cure her at the earliest. He then inquires if the doctor has no medicine for diseased minds as he has for diseased bodies. In fact, his query may equally apply to the state of Macbeth's own distracted mind. He then wants to know if the doctor can prescribe medicines that would relieve mental disease by making a patient forget his troubles and worries, medicines that can wipe out from the memory a deeply rooted sorrow. He further inquires if he cannot, with the aid of some sleeping draughts, pleasant to take and meant for inducing forgetfulness, purify and relieve a heart of its load of grief, which is sitting upon it like a nasty and unshakable weight. Macbeth is well aware of the true nature of his wife's sickness and knows that the only cure is to make her forget the dreadful crimes that they have together committed in the past. Then the doctor says therein the patient must minister to himself. So the doctor says that the patients in mental sicknesses as these need to treat themselves, and external medication can't be of any help or can't be much of any help. So Macbeth gets angry and he says, "Throw physic to the dogs. I will none of it. Come, put mine armor on. Give me my staff. Satan sent out." So he is extremely annoyed and he says, "Throw your medical skills to the dogs." And he does not want to stay there anymore, and he says, asks Satan to progress, to let him give his armor, put on his armor, and then they should go out. "Doctor, the Thane fly from me. Come, sir, dispatch." So he says, "Doctor, the Thanes are deserting me, so I have to hurry up. I can't be here anymore. If thou couldst, doctor, cast the water of my land, find her disease and purge it to a sound that pristine health. So if you can, then analyze the urine of my country." I don't know why urine or the dirty water has been referred to here. Whatever wastage or waste waters of the country. So just administer the disease from the root itself. That's what he means to say. So diagnose her disease and restore the original good health to her. "I would applaud thee to the very echo that should applaud again." So I would applaud you to such an extent that my applauding, my appraisal, my praise would be so loud that it would be echoed, and the echo would be echoed back again to you. So much of praise you shall attain. Pull it off, I say. What rhubarb! Don't you have any purgative plants, any cleansing plants or purgative drug? Don't you have any such thing which can drive away these kind of illnesses? And then he asks that purgative drug would scout these English hens. So don't you have any drug that can drive out these English forces from my Scotland? Hearest thou of them? Have you heard? They have attacked us and we are under attack. Short, here Macbeth asks the doctor if he has any medicine that could cure troubles of the mind and brain. When the doctor expresses his inability to cure the mental disease, Macbeth exclaims at the doctor to throw his healing art to the dogs, as he would have nothing to do with it. It's of no help, it's of no use. He then orders Satan to bring his armor and baton so that he may be equipped with them in readiness for the battlefield. He asks Satan to send out more scouts to scout the country. The next moment he turns to the doctor and tells him that his nobles are deserting his camp. Again he asks Satan to dress him in his armor without any delay. Once more he turns to the doctor and strangely inquires him if he is able to diagnose the disease of his country, if he can diagnose what is wrong with the country, as he can diagnose the ailments of the patients by testing even their urine. He should find out the remedy to enable his country to regain its former prosperous health. And if the doctor could really achieve this, Macbeth would praise him so loudly and so abundantly that his very applause will be echoed and re-echoed throughout the length and breadth of his country. In his unsettled condition of mind, he then asks his armor-bearer to take his armor off. Finally, he turns to the doctor once again and inquires if he is able to find any rhubarb or senna or any other similar purgative drugs that would drive away the English forces of Scotland. In the end, he wants to know from the doctor if he has heard of the arrival of the English soldiers at all. Here Macbeth is bitterly disillusioned about everything and deeply affected by his wife's succumbation to her mental illness. Macbeth shows how distraught he is in his speech. He contradicts his orders, changes his mind, and talks in a disorderly manner as if to ask a doctor of any cure to drive away the army. So the doctor says, "I, my good lord, your royal preparation makes us hear something." So he says that, "Yes, my good lord, I have heard of the English forces' arrival, and your royal preparations for battle have already made us aware of all this." So Macbeth says, "Bring it after me." So bring the armor after me. I will not be afraid of death and bane. I will not be afraid of death. I am ready to face death and destruction. Bane means destruction. So I am ready for any sort of calamity that we are going to create. Until the forest reaches my castle, I shall remain unafraid. So doctor, in an aside, he says, "Were I from Dunsinane away and clear, profit again should hardly draw me here." So he says that if I am ever out of this Dunsinane, no amount of money or any lure would never be able to induce me to return back here.